Hello, I'm Josh. I wanted to do a follow-up to my video. I did a video on how I think that all suffering is a gift, and I've gotten a lot of responses from that. Mostly positive responses, a lot of really profound suffering, and people trying to make sense of it. And then, of course, we have the people who are like, "Oh, you're an idiot," and that's perfectly fine. That's what I make these videos for, to try to get people to think and really to bring people hope, because we all go through this suffering. We all suffer. It's just a level of how much, but I feel at some point in our lives we're suffering so much we feel we can't even take it. We have questions of our faith. We have all kinds of existential issues, and it can challenge anyone. You know, someone who has children who committed suicide, or that just the worst things imaginable. And I wanted to kind of clarify for everyone and kind of explain why I believe, and I still believe, that all suffering is a gift. And what I mean by this is, I don't mean, oh, we're suffering and now we're just, it's great. We give us a gift, like we're unwrapping a present and it's making us so happy and this is so great and life is awesome. What I'm saying is, the big difference between people who believe suffering is a gift, or can at least get to the point where they understand that suffering is a gift, and the people who absolutely do not, and a lot of them never will, but some of them will come around. It is whether you believe in God or a higher power, and the higher power is God, whatever you want to call him. Whatever religion, whatever philosophy you have, if you don't believe in that higher power, in God, then you're not going to believe that suffering is a gift. And you're not going to understand why suffering is a gift. Now, it gets pretty complicated. I'm going to try to go through some of the responses that I've gotten, and you'll have to forgive me. I'm stuck in my truck today because there's been downpours, and I'm here in Raleigh again. If you don't like the weather, you just wait 5 minutes. But I wanted to get outside if I can for at least part of this video, but it looks like I might be stuck in here. But I want to go through some of the things that I've heard from a lot of people, and I want to address, first of all, for the people who got hope from my video. I really appreciate that. That is what I am trying to do. That is what I feel God made my purpose. But it feels like, in addressing the people who just won't understand and can't understand that suffering is a gift, first, that it will also help people who already believe that suffering is a gift, or are already coming around to that idea. And one of the biggest things I have to say about it is, and I've been kind of replying to some people with this link, and I will put a link in the description for this a video or a couple videos of a man named Dr. Bruce Greyson. And this is a man who has studied NDEs, and that is near-death experiences, for about 50 years. The profound stories. I mean, it is insane, the stuff that has happened, and the stuff that he's heard about or witnessed, or a lot of his colleagues and other doctors and really scientific-minded people who aren't spiritual, aren't religious, on any of that stuff. They've really changed everything. This man's a psychologist. he studies NDEs on a strictly scientific basis. And in the video, and the first one I'll try to post in the link in the description, he talks about how much it has changed him, how just amazing the results from the NDEs are in his life. And the story of how he got started was he went into, and if I screw this up, I'm sorry, but like I said, you guys can see it firsthand, but he explains how in the 1970s he went in to see a patient who had just tried to kill themselves with suicide. And the patient, I think she was dead for a short amount of time, and then she was in a coma. And he went in there to check on her, but, the doctor said, she's in a coma. So he went and he talked to her sister, who was in the lobby, in the waiting room. And he noticed he had a blue suit with a tie that had a red stain on it. And he looked at it and buttoned it up so he wouldn't look like a slob going to talk to this patient's sister. And he talked to her for a while, and then he left. And then the next day he got back to the hospital to check on her. She still had her eyes closed, and she said, "Oh, I remember you." And he's like, "Oh, well, I'm sorry. I didn't even realize that you were awake last night. I didn't realize that you knew I came in here." She still had her eyes closed, and she was like, "No, I saw you out in the lobby speaking to my sister." And he was like, "What do you mean? Did your sister tell you that I was out there talking to her?" And she was like, she had obviously just woken up from her coma. And then she opened her eyes and she looked at him and she was like, "No, I saw you talking to my sister. You had a blue suit with a tie with a stain on it, and I could see you out there." And he was just floored that she could, all these details that she could know with being clinically, brain dead, in a coma, or, even during her death experience, near-death experience, I guess, dying and coming back to life. He said that it touched him so much that he started researching more and more. So he started asking around and found all kinds of other people who were very interested in this, but they had just not worked together. So what he did was he started a foundation to study these NDEs. And the results were just mind-blowing. And I want you to, if you can, it's more important you watch those videos than you watch mine, because I explain to people that the people that say that suffering is not a gift, I cannot make them see that, because they cannot see the experiences I had with God. My enlightenment moment where I was positive that I met God. And you can watch some of my older videos. I believe my first ever video is where I kind of explained how God came to me. I felt God or higher spirits plenty of times in my life, but I had never understood what they were saying. And when I was finally suffering enough, and excuse me, the pollen is so bad today, I'm going to be clearing my throat a few times. When God spoke to me for the first time and I understood it, everything changed completely. It was like a switch went off. I went from being one of the most miserable people, thinking my life is a curse, my life is over, this is nothing but suffering and nothing but pain, and why should I even go on? And I finally just said to God, I don't know what to do. You just have to guide me. And if you want me to do something that I'm not doing, please just show me and I will do it. I'll do anything to not feel like this, not be a horrible husband and father and friend and brother and son. I just wasn't any of those things. I wasn't the man that I wanted to be. And it all changed within a day. Now, when God speaks to me, he guides me towards the wisdom that I need. And the wisdom that I need is always something different. And he showed me my purpose is to help people who need hope, who are in their darkest depths, rock bottom. And so I go and I try to find any way to help them, just give them a hand up, give them hope, because that can change everything. But I wanted to explain to the people who don't think that suffering is a gift, then there's only really two explanations for why one day I was the most miserable person imaginable, and the next day I was the happiest man alive. And I don't mean, oh, I'm always happy. Oh, I'm so happy that I'm suffering. I'm so happy I'm in pain all the time. I'm so happy all this pain and misery around me. I'm talking about I can find peace and calm through my suffering. And when I finally get through the suffering, or even during it, I see the beauty in it. And that beauty is transcendent. It is worth every single bit of every single instance of my suffering through my entire life. So the two reasons why, the only two reasons why that could have happened to me is, one, I'm delusional. Okay, so let's say I'm delusional. Okay, if I'm delusional and I find God, or I think I'm talking to God and these spirits, and it can change my entire outlook on life and make me happy to be alive and so thankful for every single moment that I'm living in, even the bad ones. If that's delusional, then bring on the delusion. I will take the delusion any day of the week. Any day of the week. It is, without a doubt, I would live blissfully ignorant in that delusion no matter what. Okay, so that's the first reason, obviously. And that's the one that all the atheists and non-believers will say that has happened to me. Okay, so the other reason is that I actually talked to God, and he granted me this calmness, this inner peace, and this joy in my life that has been lasting, and that he told me that I am meant to serve him by going and finding people who need lifted up and just be there for them and just give them a nudge in the right direction, or whatever he wants me to do. He tells me who to help and who not to help. And if it's someone I'm not supposed to help and I try to help them, I won't get any guidance, but I will still try to. But if it's someone I'm supposed to help, then he will show me exactly how to help them and exactly what to do, so that I'm leading them in a direction of positivity, of hope, and of joy. Because we all need help coping through suffering. Excuse me 1 minute. I'm going to clear my throat, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so we've established the two reasons of what could have happened to me to where, on one day, that I changed everything. And I guess I'm just a guy on the internet, so you don't have to believe that in one day that my life went from the worst possible to the best possible. You don't have to believe that. You don't have to believe that I am dead broke, I'm overweight, I'm in pain all the time from a disability in my back and all of these things, and I'm dealing with. Right now, I'm literally waiting to see if my grandmother is going to pass, because hospice is there with her, my Grammy, and it is both my parents are just in awful shape, and who knows what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know God's plan. I don't know what's going to happen at all. So how can I be peaceful and calm and happy during this and see the beauty still in life? Well, you cannot believe me, and that's fine. And if you don't believe me, then I challenge you to explain the near-death experience. Go and watch them, because those are recorded instances. There are probably tens of thousands now of recorded instances. The Dr. Bruce Greyson, over 50 years, has done probably maybe even tens of thousands just himself. And then there's people who study that, and there's people who study memories of past lives. There is just incredible stories that obviously the past live things can't be completely corroborated, but they were. They were. UVA, I believe, did a study, and they took 2,000. I might be getting some of this wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's mostly right. 2,000 children who felt they had past lives, and these past lives they could remember almost completely. And so how they corroborated them, they took these children and they started taking their stories, and they started looking into different things that they had experienced, and they went and investigated. Wow, that stuff is right on point. How could these children know that? They even took these children to these places that they'd actually been before, and they, in their past lives, and these children were walking around like they knew the place, like they lived there now, and showing them all over, and showing them even people they remembered. They remember the emotions that their past lives felt towards these people. It is just insane. And if you don't believe in God, then please explain that to me. Is it all just one big hoax that all these scientists are studying, and doctors experiencing nonstop? Is that all just one big hoax? Because if you don't believe that, if you can't find any hope in anything, and your mind is that closed, then there's a lot of suffering left for you that is going to be. You're going to be just a miserable person. That's just going to happen until either something opens your eyes, or you die and then you see the truth in everything. And then in the afterlife, hopefully you find that peace. But I honestly believe, and I'll try to wrap this up soon, and I'm going to do a few more videos on this. I honestly believe that suffering is a gift. And the reason why is because every single time we suffer, we are learning a lesson that we need for our purpose. Everything in our lives is catered to us. That means even peace. That means suffering that we bring upon ourselves. I was responding to somebody yesterday, and somebody was asking about how most of their suffering, it's just stuff brought upon themselves. And I told him, I was like, that is exactly the same as the suffering that life causes, that you don't have any control over. You're bringing it on yourself because you need to learn to overcome that suffering. It's teaching you to be a certain way, to overcome darkness. I mean, think about it. You think that God wants us to suffer? I don't want to see people suffer. God does not want to see people suffer. But what has God done from the very beginning? In the beginning, no matter what you think, I guess you could think that just the Big Bang came out of nothing, but how did the matter that started the Big Bang even get there? God overcame the nothingness and the darkness, and he made a wild, beautiful, it is the most amazing universe you can imagine. So why would you think that our lives would be any different? We have to be able to overcome that darkness, or we're just going to be beaten down, and it's just going to be meaningless until we finally do. And I do think that we learn. If we don't learn, we do it over and over and over until we do learn. And I challenged somebody yesterday who just kept saying, oh, suffering's not a gift, you're a fool, you're this and that, it's just, this life is so cruel. Just go and take a look. You don't have to believe what I believe. I don't preach to anybody about, I'm a Christian. I believe in almost all of the Christian tenets, but not all of them. I don't necessarily like the Christian churches, but I do. A lot of people do, and there's no problem with that at all. If the church is where you find your connection to God, absolutely go to church and relish in it. I go to church. I love hearing the sermons sometimes, and they teach you some things about the Bible. But to me, the connection with God is a private one, and you have to study. I do believe you have to read the Bible. You have to read the Tao. You have to read the even things like ancient text, Hermetic text, maybe the Quran. Read whatever you can. Mythology, philosophy is very important too. Take what you can that seems to help you connect with God out of each of those things, and you can pick and choose each one of those things and use those things to help you connect with God. And I understand if you're a fundamentalist Christian, that is fine. Then just take the wisdom you can from the Bible. There's plenty of wisdom in the Bible. There's plenty enough for everyone in the Bible. There's plenty of wisdom in old Hindu texts. There's plenty of wisdom in all these stuff. I choose Christianity just because of the salvation aspect, but people can find whatever they want that helps them. Whatever calls to you. God will make you focus on certain things in this world. He will, when you're walking in the woods, when I walk in the woods, he lets me focus on, this tree, it looks interesting, or this animal is approaching me. This wild animals approach me all the time now. Deer come and walk alongside of me. Snakes and lizards and birds, especially birds, are landing right next to me. And I've told the story of the hawk that I walked literally right up to. I could have grabbed him if I wanted to, but he was just fine with me. And then an owl landed right above me during the same time. These things didn't happen to me before. They did somewhat, but not to the extent that I did now. And I look back now and I see those were all messages from God then that I was supposed to figure out after my enlightenment. He knew I wasn't going to be enlightened until a certain time, and he knew that I wouldn't understand those until I needed to understand them. You have to have patience. You have to ponder all of the messages you get, all the synchronicities in life, all the lyrics and movie lines that speak to you, and it's like, wow, you feel your heart skip a beat and you're breathless. All those beautiful views in nature, all the animals that seem to connect with you, that just look at you. And before I go, I just wanted to say, I really do think that finding meaning in the suffering is the most important thing. Because if we don't find the meaning in the suffering, we don't learn the lessons from them, it is worthless to you, or it will be until you realize what the meaning is. And yes, there are people who suffer horribly their whole lives, and there are children who just die brutal deaths, and it is awful, and that is the worst thing imaginable, especially for a parent. But those things happen for a reason. And yes, it won't feel like a gift for a very, very long time. But once you learn that your child is not gone, that they've just moved on to the next journey, and that maybe God wanted them early for something special. I'm pretty sure that most children that he takes They are used for something special in the next world, in the next life. Maybe they're living simultaneous lives right now, because many NDEs have said they've lived simultaneous lives, and they've actually corroborated that too. Don't feel like your loved ones are gone. Don't feel so alone that you can't even cope with anything anymore. You are not alone. The hope is always there, and that is because God is real. The afterlife is real. We don't understand it because we're not made to understand it. Our minds are, Dr. Bruce Greyson said, our minds are like a transmitter, a radio receiver, and think of them maybe like even a cell phone. So when you're talking to someone on a cell phone, you hear their voice through the cell phone, but that's not them. You know it's not them. You're getting it receiving. That is what your brain is. Your brain is a receiver for the soul. It is not you. It is just, this whole body is a receiver where we are experiencing life for a certain reason, and that certain reason we will never know until we're done with this life, unless God somehow lets us know at least part of the plan. But you have to be able to have that faith, and you can question anything you want. You can question God, you can question the reasons, you can question the suffering, but in the end, every bit of suffering is a gift, either for you in this life, and it might take years, it might take till the end of your life, it might take till your afterlife, or it is a gift for someone else, and then you will also, if you suffer for someone else, you will receive that reward, and you will know your purpose in the next life. That is why it's all a gift. Every single bit of it, even the worst imaginable stuff, is a gift. Okay, that's enough for now. The rain's starting to come down pretty good. God bless you all.